Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. I am Shabina Parveen from India, Kolkata. I am currently living in Sydney as a permanent resident with my husband. My husband is a software engineer and I am PhD in biochemistry. Would it be halal for us to apply for citizenship here? Please note, I am living in a Muslim majority suburb of Sydney with no restrictions in practicing my religion in any way. Jazakallah. Sister Shabina Parveen, who is originally from Kolkata, India, has shifted to Sydney in Australia, and she has got permanent residency. And now she is eligible to apply for citizenship. She's asking the question that, is it halal or is it permitted for her to apply for citizenship of the country of Australia? Before I give the reply, you may have heard, I'm sure, my answer to the question that can Muslims migrate from Muslim country to non-Muslim country for a better living? And I gave the answer that according to authentic scholars, according to scholars who give the fatwa on Quran and Sahih Hadith, they have said that for a Muslim to migrate from a Muslim majority country to a non-Muslim majority country, it is not permitted. And their argument is based, and the fatwa is based on the verse of the Quran of Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 97 to 100. And Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 97, that when the angel of death comes to take the soul of those who have died in sin against their soul, they ask the question that what was your state when you lived? And they reply, we were weak and oppressed on this earth. So the angels reply, is not the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spacious enough so that you could have migrated away from the evil? And Allah says, and continues in this verse, that hell is the abode for such Muslims. This verse of the Quran, if you read the tafsir, it says it was revealed for people, for Muslims who were living in non-Muslim countries. And this verse was revealed telling them that if you are in a non-Muslim country, you have to migrate, because you cannot practice Islam completely, you have to migrate. And if the angel of death comes to take your soul, for those people who have sinned, and when they ask, what was their state? They reply, we were weak and oppressed. So the angel says, is not the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spacious enough for you to migrate? So such people, for them, hell is the abode. This is Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verse number 97. Then the verse continues, verse number 98, that except for those who are oppressed and weak amongst men, women and children, who don't have the means to migrate. Then the verse continues, verse number 99, for them Allah has given forgiveness, for Allah is us forgiving and most merciful. So based on these three verses of the Quran, the scholars say that for a Muslim living in a Muslim majority country, he cannot migrate to a non-Muslim country for a better living. Except there are certain situations, if you are going to be a full-time da'i, some of the scholars give permission, not all. Regarding those Muslims who are living in a non-Muslim country, what should they do? So the ruling on this verse of the Quran is, Allah is instructing them to migrate to a place where the Islamic law is followed, or where the Muslim land majority. That is the best. Except if you are oppressed and weak and you don't have the means to migrate, then Allah will forgive you. So that time it becomes makruh because you don't have the means. But the first option is you have to migrate. If you are weak and oppressed and don't have the means, then you can stay, Allah will forgive you. And then the scholars say that if you are born in a non-Muslim country, the mustahab, the preferred thing is you migrate to a Muslim country where you can practice Islam more freely. But if you are living in a non-Muslim country where you can practice all your farais and where you can practice your deen without any restriction, as the sister said, then you can stay, but it becomes makruh. Can stay, but it becomes makruh. And the next verse continues. Surah Nisa chapter 4 verse number 100. As to those who forsake their home for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and go to a foreign land and die in that foreign land for the sake of Allah and His Rasul, for them Allah has prepared a great reward. Allah is saying that those people who forsake their home for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and die away from their home for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will give them a great reward, and the tafsir say that is Jannah. Now coming to your question, that I am living in Sydney in a Muslim majority area and I can practice my deen without any restrictions. The word she says is, I am living in a Muslim majority suburb of Sydney with no restrictions in practicing my religion in any way. This statement, I doubt, is possible in any of the non-Muslim country in any major city. That you can practice your deen without any restrictions in any way. Without restriction in any way, double emphasis. Sister, there may be two things. Either you may not be knowing your deen well, or maybe you may not be knowing the laws of your country well, and other aspects. I feel it's not possible in any non-Muslim country, especially if it's a major city like Sydney, that you can practice your deen without any restrictions in any way. Yes, there can be possible living in a town or living in a small village in a non-Muslim country, there may be less restriction, that's possible. That you can maybe practice some of your farais or majority of your farais, it's possible. But to say you can practice your deen without any restrictions is impossible. Why? There are various things. People think that only because they can offer salah and they can fast and they can give zakat and they can perform hajj, the deen is complete. That is a very small understanding of the deen. Those are only the pillars. That's what your understanding of deen is. Okay, it's possible. But the understanding of deen is much bigger. There are various things. One of the important for us is dawah. And I know that in most of the countries, doing dawah in non-Muslim country is not easy. Certain level, okay, but the moment you reach a higher level, surely they will not permit you. And even most of the da'is that are there in the non-Muslim countries, there are restrictions. They cannot do dawah freely like how you can do in a Muslim country, like how I can do in Malaysia. It's difficult. There are many restrictions. Okay, maybe if you're doing dawah on a small level to a small group without any much success, okay, it may be possible. But the moment you get success, what you have to do, you'll have to change your dawah. Then you may have to start telling, you know that, okay, and we see that there were many good, mashallah, Muslim da'is who were very knowledgeable. When they shifted to a Western country, to a non-Muslim country, you found in the passage of time that they started changing their view. And they said, okay, fine, now shaking hand with opposite sex, it is not haram, it should not be done, but if done, it's not a sin. Where you get this from? Our beloved Prophet clearly said that anyone touches a nahmeram, that part will burn in hell. So then you find many guys saying, okay, LGBT, lesbian, gays, homosexual, fine it is, you have to be kind. Being kind is not a problem, but you have to understand that this is acceptable, and they try and change. Maybe 10, 15 years back, they said it is haram. So what happens? They start changing their deen to adopt to the rules and regulation of the non-Muslim country. And the good guys, I know many who lived in the Western countries, they could not tolerate. They came back. Some were hunted out who were successful. Some had to come back. You can give many examples. Yet there are some guys which are there. So you find that most of the Muslims now living in Western countries, either they are migrated from a Muslim country and many of them from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, from the Indian subcontinent. Or maybe the parents or the grandparents have migrated, so they're born there. If you migrate yourself, it is not permitted. If you're born there, then you take the fatwa better to migrate to a Muslim country back. Or if you can practice your deen, it is permitted, but it is makruh, according to the top scholars. I know people will not agree with this answer. They will say these scholars are wrong, and they'll debate with them. But the verse of the Quran is very clear-cut. It was revealed specifically to the Muslims living in non-Muslim country. So I agree with the fatwa of the scholars and the verse of the Quran, which is very clear-cut, that to migrate, and you coming from India, and the Indian subcontinent before the British had split, India was ruled by about 1,000 years by the Muslims. They were close to majority, maybe 40% or more. Later on, the Britishers come and they divide the Muslim to three parts, into Pakistan, Bangladesh. So 1/3 approximately in Pakistan, 1/3 in Bangladesh, approximately 1/3 in India. India has a larger chunk than the other two countries, and they split. But India has a Muslim personal law. When India split, it has a Muslim personal law, and few non-Muslim countries have a Muslim personal law, which says that any person can preach, practice, and propagate their religion. And especially for the Muslims, there is the Muslim personal law, means you can follow all the rules and regulations mentioned in the Quran and Sahih Hadith. So in the non-Muslim countries, those Muslim countries which permit a Muslim to follow the Muslim personal law is far better, like India, than living in a Western country like America or Canada or Australia, where you're not permitted to follow all your Muslim personal faith. You say no restrictions. Can a man marry two wives officially in Australia? And the answer is no. After a person dies, there is inheritance, which has to be given according to the basis of the Quran. In the other law, it is according to the law of the country, unless you specifically mention a will. There are various things. I'm just talking some of them. I do agree that in certain parts you can follow most of it, but saying with no restriction whatsoever, I disagree with you. I have been to Australia twice. I've also been to Sydney, and I've seen the life there. It is just like any Western country. Maybe the levels may differ, but you have the same fahish. When you go out in Sydney, you see billboards of obscene photos on it of women very scantily dressed. You have to do good. How can you say you can practice your deen? Every day you go to Guzar Basar, you have to keep on looking down. There are various other factors. The zina is so common. Zina is everywhere in the world, but in the Western world, the percentage is high. Whether it be America, whether it be Canada, whether it be European countries, whether it be Australia, the percentage is much higher than the Muslim countries. The chances of drug addiction is much more. The chances of your children being involved in alcoholism, into adultery, into fornication, into drug addiction is much higher. And practice, yes, you can practice certain parts, but you cannot say with no restriction at all. So I personally believe in the fatwa of those scholars that you should not migrate. So you have migrated. So I would, if you ask me, is it correct for you to apply for citizenship? I would say no. Because whatever said and done, India now, lately, after the BJP government has come, there are problems for Muslims in the last 6-7 years since they have come to power. There has been problems. There has been attacks on Muslims, yet, according to me, it is multiple times better than the Western non-Muslim countries like America or Australia or Canada or European countries or UK, anytime. Because the risk of your child or you going to do haram activities is much higher. And here, because in India, though the present government, BJP, ruled by Narendra Modi, they are attacking the Muslims, they are not following the constitution. It is a small phase. But as per the constitution, India is one of the few countries where any citizen can preach, practice and propagate his religion. And I was doing dawah for so many years. And I was there in that country. Now because of the success, I had to do hijrah. And I did hijrah. And that's one of the best things I did in my life. Alhamdulillah. So as for you being an Indian and you're coming from Kolkata, which is not controlled by BJP, it is safe. Like states like Kerala are very good. States like Kolkata, it's not controlled by BJP. You will not have those problems that you have in UP and the other parts of India. So I would suggest that you living in India is much better. But I do agree with you that living in a Western country, the chances of luxury of the world is much higher. But natural, you said that your husband is there and you are done PhD in biochemistry. But natural, what you will earn in Australia, in Sydney, will be multiple times more than what you earn in India. So in terms of worldly things, of course, the chances that Australia would give you more worldly luxury is multiple times more than India. That is a factor, the reason people migrate. It is not for other things. And this thing of the dunya, a Muslim mainly should strive for akhirah. Allah says that if a person asks for dunya, Allah gives this dunya but doesn't give akhirah. If a person asks for akhirah, Allah gives akhirah and this dunya also. Or you can ask for both, and the famous dua, that Rabbana atina fid dunya hasnatan wa fil akhirat hasnatan qina azabin nar. That, O Lord, give us the best in this world and the hereafter and save us from the torment of hellfire. Here are three things you are asking. Give us the best in this world and the best in the hereafter and save us from the torment of hellfire. Out of three things, two things are about akhirah. Best in next world and save us from the torment of hellfire. And one third is for this dunya. So if you're asking for both, see to it that more is akhirah and less is dunya. If you ask more for dunya, before this verse, if you read the verse before this, verse the Rabbana Atina, it's Surah Baqarah chapter 2 verse number 201. One verse before that, Surah Baqarah chapter 2 verse number 200 says that those people who ask for this world will give them the world, but not the akhirah. And then this dua starts. So, Alhamdulillah, because of my answers and my lectures, there are thousands of Indians, Pakistanis and Bangladeshis who wanted to settle in the Western countries, in America, in Canada, in Australia, and Alhamdulillah, they've changed the decision. And amongst the non-Muslim Western countries, one of the best, I would say, though not good to go, is Canada. Because the President of Canada has a soft corner for the Muslims. And it is better than USA, Australia. But even in Canada, just a couple of weeks back, we heard that a young man, when he sees a family who wants to cross the road, a family of 5 or 6 people, he takes his truck and dashes into them. And all of them die except one child. Why? Islamophobia. Just for the hate of the Muslims. Before that, a few months before that, there was a Muslim who comes out of the mosque in Canada, I think it was Toronto suburbs, and in the car park someone comes and slits his throat. He dies on the spot. There are various such cases. I'm not saying that these incidences don't happen in the Muslim majority country. But imagine you living in a country where there's Islamophobia, where people are coming and attacking you, the people are bombing your mosque. I know in New Zealand what happened, that a person came and he bombed the mosque and about 50 people were killed, and he takes a gun and he kills the people. So these incidences of Islamophobia, of attacking the Muslim, are quite common. You cannot neglect them. I know many dais whose children are involved in alcoholism, in adultery, in fornication, in drug addiction, many. I cannot name them. So even children of Dai, who will you blame if your child deviates away from Islam? That's the reason. There are many Dais who have come back. But that doesn't mean everyone who hears this answer will follow. Though there are thousands of people who have not gone to the Western countries to settle, there are more thousand number of people who have heard my answer and yet gone. Why? Because the love of dunya is there. And recently a friend of mine, he is a student of knowledge, completed master's and just completing his PhD. He asked me that he got a job offer in Australia. And the job offer is very lucrative, 70,000 pounds a year, very good. And it comes to about $4,500 to $5,000 a month, very good. Should I go? I told him, as far as the worldly status is concerned, it's difficult for you to get such a good offer of $4,500 to $5,000 a month. You're not famous. If you're famous, it's okay. And 70,000 Australian dollar a year, such an offer, I doubt you'll get anywhere else in the world. It's a very lucrative. So for dunya, it's very good. But if you ask my advice that should you migrate, I would say no. And the reasons are the same. It's risking your akhirah. The Quran is against it. There are scholars who have given fatwa, you should not do it. But whenever you give advice, it's not possible that everyone follows it every time. And if more lucrative they offer, the more chances that they will not follow the right. What you have to realize that many of them, and even this friend of, oh, I'll go there for 5 years and come back. I told him that if you go for 5 years and you think you'll come back, more than 95% you won't come back unless you're kicked out of the job or someone takes you out of the country. Because once you get the taste of it, the luxury, you get a car, you get to see all these worldly things, your nafs will not prevent, the nafs will not allow you to come back. And the same thing is happening with you, sister. Now you got a residency, now you got to offer a citizenship. Oh, citizenship of Australia, such a good offer. So why allow these are khutuwatu shaitan? Why allow, first of all, go there. Fine. If you're living over here, you're a foreigner living in Malaysia. Malaysia is one of the best countries to live in, and you can hear my answer. If you're getting 4 times more for here, you may get maybe 4,000 ringgit, 5,000 ringgit. They are getting $4,000, $5,000, maybe 4 times more. $1 to a ringgit is 4 times. The cost of living there is high. So in terms of comparison, it may be double benefit. The salary may be 4 times high, but the cost of living in Australia may be double of Malaysia. So net benefit may be double. So yes, you may have luxury of life, but the security of the deen in Malaysia is multiple times more than leading your life in Australia. But what you have to realize that even with the knowledge of deen, the shaitan is there. The shaitan is there to, okay, no problem, don't go forever. Where are we telling you? Your children are young, go there for 4-5 years, earn money, come back. What are you going to do for 5 months? Are you going to make a palace? When you go to 4-5 months, okay, now I've got a permanent residency. Okay, now you can apply for citizenship, and the person settles there. If you're kicked out of the country, or if there are problems, you'll come back. So many a times, the problems are a blessing in disguise. So, my reply to you, sister, is my humble request to you that you've already spent so many years there. My advice to you is, and you will realize that I don't know how many children you have, or you'll be having children in future. This is very risky. On the day of judgment, if your child becomes a drug addict, or get involved in zina, or gets involved in other things which are haram, on the day of judgment, who will be responsible? Who took him there? The parents. Will you be able to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The risk is too high. I know that there are many of the Western dais may not agree with my reply, but I do agree with those scholars who on Quran and Sunnah who have given the fatwa based on the verse of the Quran of Surah Nisa chapter 4 verse number 97 to 100. And my advice to you, sister, is that the best would be that you go to any other Muslim majority country, try and see to get a job in a Muslim majority country, that is the best. But going back to India, to Kolkata, with this situation is far better, much safer to protect your deen than to continue your life in Sydney. Hope that answers the question.